We are going to rig the eye now. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to need to go to our character model actually and put our eye geometry, or eye geo, onto its own layer just temporarily. Please excuse the slowness of my computer. Let me just pause for a minute. All right, so we are going to select both of these eyes here, and I'm going to go layer. And when the menu opens, I'm going to choose create layer from selected. So now we have our eyes, and our eyes are actually visible here. And the next thing we are going to do is try and get close to our eyes. So once again, pardon me for the slowness of the reaction of my Maya. I think my computer is just warming up. All right, so we have our eyes visible. We have an eye left and an eye right. And we are going to go into basically side view. And we're going to go to our create joint tool. As soon as I can move everything up so that I can see my head, let me make my character invisible, and let's do a different view here so we can see things just a little bit easier. All right, so we're going to create a joint, and we're actually, when we see that marker, we are going to press V as in Victor, because we want to snap this new joint to the head joint, but we don't want to click on the head joint because that'll put us into joint mode, and we won't actually be creating a new joint. So I'm pressing V, and I'm going to click over here to the side, and then I'm going to press enter. And just like that, we've created a new joint that's actually not attached to any of the joint chains. Let's show our local rotation axis, our LRA of our joint. So I pressed LRA on my shelf. If you don't have local rotation axis on your shelf, you're going to go to display, transform display, local rotation axis. All right, so we now have our local rotation axis showing, and we're going to name this eye, and it's going to be BN underscore L underscore I 01. So that is our eye joint for our left-hand side. And we're going to go to our attribute editor, and we need to change the orientation of our joint. So we are going to mess around with our joint orient over here, and we're actually going to make Y a -90. And as you can see, the X is now pointing forward, the Y is pointing up, and the Z is pointing to the side. And of course, we do want our X pointing forward because it is our eyeball, right? So we want our eye pointing forward and moving properly. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to snap the joint by using a point constraint to our eye geometry. So I need to go back to my channels box. I need to make my eye geometry visible. Oops. Uh-oh, so my eye geometry is still, it's still kind of linked to my model layer, but fortunately it is separate, so that's good. So what we are going to do is we are going to select our left eyeball. I'm going to control select my eye geometry. I'm going to do point constrain. So let's go to rigging, constrain point options box, because we want to make sure that maintain offset is off. So I'm going to click add, and it seems like our joint has disappeared. It has not. It's actually inside the eyeball, which is great. So I'm now going to delete my constraint. All right. And then we are going to duplicate the joint. Let's turn on X-ray joints so we can actually see the joint inside of here, and we can. All right, that's good. And we're just gonna have to select it over here. All right, so we are gonna duplicate the joint and by hitting Control D, and we're actually gonna move it in front of the first joint, all right? And we're only going to move it in translate Z, so don't grab it and like move it like this. We don't want that. You notice I only moved it in translate Z. With the duplicate joint selected, we are going to then select the first joint, and we're going to hit P to parent them together. I'm also going to rename my duplicate joint. It's an N joint, so that's going to be BE underscore L underscore I01. So now that we have named that joint and we have parented it, we need to make sure that our eye chain is actually attached to our head. So I'm going to select my bind joint, shift select the head, and hit P to parent the head joint, the BN head joint. Now we have our eye parented. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is mirror these joints because they are perfectly oriented. So I am going to go to skeleton mirror joints options box. And we already have the underscore L, search for underscore L, underscore, replace with underscore R, underscore. Now here's something that's interesting. Our mirror function right now is behavior, and that works for our arms, that works for our legs, but for our eyes, we actually don't want gecko eyes. We want our character's eyes to kind of move in conjunction with one another. I'm going to change this to orientation and click apply. And then close it out. So now, as you can see, all of my local rotation axes are pointing in the same direction as the eyes over here. You might have noticed that before, when it's a behavior, your leg joints on the right-hand side, their local rotation axes are like in the opposite direction of the local rotation axes on the left. And that's fine because we want our character to be able to do jumping jacks, but we don't want the eyeballs to have the same kind of abilities. All right, so I'm going to select both my eyeballs and click hierarchy and then LRA so that I no longer see my local rotation axes. I don't need to anymore. So then the next thing that I want to do is I want to bind the eyes to the geometry, so that at the very least we'll see our eyes moving. Actually, to really be able to see this working, let's add a simple shader to our eyeballs. So I'm going to assign a Lambert, and I'm just going to call this eyes matte for now. And in my color channel, I'm going to apply a ramp. I'm going to make that ramp has a new color, and it's going to be, let's just do a nice bright green. Let's move the black up a bit. Let's definitely move the white because the majority of this actually should be white. So this should probably be like this. And then I believe we need our eye to be a U ramp and none. And indeed, that is how it is. All right, we've got to play around with this. And then it looks like I'm going to need to rotate this guy. All right, so there is one eyeball, and let's apply the other one, eye matte, and we are going to have to rotate it 180 degrees. And then I'm actually just going to go and freeze transformations on my eyes, delete history. All right, so now my character has green eyes, and so we will actually be able to see how this is moving, how the eyes are moving more easily with this texture, with this shader on here. All right, so we are going to select the bind eye joint, okay? And then we are going to select the geometry of the left eye. And then we are going to go to skin, bind skin options box. Let's reset it so we can see the original settings. Bind joint to selected joints and max influences. Let's put it down a little bit to 3 and bind skin. Okay, so if we select this now and we were to rotate it, they would move in conjunction with one another. All right, so we want to do this on the other side. So we select the joint, select the geometry, and bind skin. All right, so we are now going to save this scene because we haven't saved it all, which is just a recipe for disaster. So we're going to do, I guess, head version 4. because we're also going to do the jaw. Okay, so now that we have done that, let's go back to our channels here. And we're actually going to, let's bring all that back. Let's do Alt B so we can see a little bit better. All right, I'm just gonna have to see it like that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to create IKs for our eyes. I know this seems really unorthodox and kind of weird. Most people just use an aim constraint for the eyes. Sometimes the aim constraint works perfectly. Other times it does really, really weird things. And I found that if I just do the IK handle way, I never have issues with rigging my eyes. So I just do it this way. I just find that it minimizes things going wrong. All right, so what we want to do is we want to go to skeleton create IK handle. We want this to be a rotate plane solver. And we are just going to click once on our bind joint and once on the end joint. And let's immediately name this. So this is going to be RP because it's an RP solver underscore L underscore IK01. Okay. And we're going to do it on the other side as well. So you'll notice right here that you'll see different symbols over here. These tools are always the last tool you use. So this is the IK handle tool, so I'm just going to click it. I'm going to go here, click my bind I joint, and then click my end joint, and then immediately name RP underscore R underscore I IK01. Now, you'll remember with the legs, we had an effector as well. So to get to the effector, I'm actually going to select my eye joint here, and in my outliner, hit F. That's just the easiest way to get to the effector. So this is EFF underscore R underscore I01. And the other eye has the effector over here. So EFF underscore L underscore I01. So you can see how using F in the outliner is really handy dandy, and also how it can help you to easily find areas that would otherwise be just, it would be a searching game, be like a needle in a haystack. Okay, so now that we have created our IK handles and we have named both the IK handles and the effectors, we can make our IK handle size just a little bit smaller. It's really big. There you can see them just a little bit better. So they're kind of large. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to display animation, IK handle size. We can actually bring our IK handle size down to 0.5. Look at that. Way smaller. All right, so now we have a smaller IK handle size, which is excellent. So once again, if you want to change your IK handle sizes, if they're too big or too small, go to display animation IK handle size, and that'll open up that little window and you can change the size. All right, so what we want to do is we want to make some controls now to drive this train, the eyeball train. So we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to make some circles. So this first circle, we're going to rotate it in the X 90 degrees. I have a little mouse script here, but you can always go to your channels box and type in 90. All right, and then we're going to snap it to the left eye by pressing W for the move tool and then pressing V. And I'm actually going to turn off both my model and my eyeballs at this point because they were fighting with the model. Okay, so I don't want that. So I have now snapped my control to my eye joint. All right. Actually, I need to snap it to the end joint. So I need it to be in front of the face. So we make the model visible. Let's actually do R like that. Okay, that looks good. Template mode, turn it back off again. All right, so then we want to drop our radius. So if we go over here to our NURBS circle channels and click on Make NURBS Circle 1 Inputs, we can actually go to our radius and make it smaller. So make our radius 0.5, which is pretty cool. Once we've done that, now I'm going to delete history. So I'm going to click history, gets rid of those input options. I'm going to freeze transformations just because I want to zero everything out and I don't want to forget. Then we're going to duplicate this circle and press V and snap it over to the right eye. Press freeze transformations again. And if they're not already well in front of the eyes, then we want to select both of the eye controls and move them further in front of the eyes. So if you feel like, you know what, this just isn't far enough in front of my character to select them easily, just move them forward. Okay. Normally we would not want to do this in object mode. Normally this is a no-no, but this is the one time when it's okay. We're going to freeze transformations and make our character invisible again. And we're going to name these. So circle 1 is going to be CC underscore L underscore I 01. And the second one is going to be CC underscore R underscore I 01. All right. The right-hand side, well, the left-hand side is going to be blue, and the right-hand side is going to be red. These are, of course, Mel scripts that I have. Once again, if you want to make these, change these colors the old-fashioned way, you go to Object Display, Drawing Overrides, click Enable Overrides, and then use the scroller to find the color that you want to make them. All right. Okay, so now that we have done that, we are going to create a main eye control. So I'm just going to create another circle. And let's go to its radius, actually. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's do 1.5 or maybe 2. Let's try 2. 2 is good. All right. And we are going to rotate it. And we are going to snap this in between both of these. So how do we do this? Well, there's the APT Mel script, which is really, really helpful. And I actually don't see it up here, which makes me sad. So we'll have to just do this the old-fashioned way, which is not a problem. So what we need to do is we need to select both of the eye controls, shift select the new eye control, which will control both of them. We're going to go to constrain point, and then we are going to delete the constraint. All right, and that is how you center this main eye control to both of the other eye controls. We could freeze transformations, delete history when we're done doing that. We also need to shape it. So I am going to, now we could keep it looking like a face. That's fine. But I'm going to shape it so that it kind of looks like goggles, I guess. There we go. And I'm also going to make it yellow. All right, so there it is. And I need to name it, and I'm going to call it CC underscore eyes 01. Eyes, because it's going to be controlling both of the eye controls. All right. If you haven't done it already, make sure you freeze transformations on all 3 of your eye controls. All right, so we're going to select the 2 circle eye controls, and then control select our eyes control and hit P to parent. So the eyes control is now the parent of the 2 individual eye controls, which is great. All right. Now our eye controls aren't actually doing anything. So they look good, but they aren't actually moving the eyes. So in order to do that, we need to first select our left eye control, and then we're going to select the left IK handle, okay? And then we're going to point constrain, and we're going to make sure that maintain offset is off. So we're going to hit apply. We're going to do that with the other one as well. So select this, select the IK handle second, and constrain point. All right, so now let's bring our eyeballs back. Okay, And let's see if they work. So if I move this, oh, look at that. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Before we go any further, let's select our eyes control, shift select the head control, hit P to parent. That way, when we move our head, they all move in conjunction with one another. Now, I know it looks really weird, but the reason it looks really weird is we haven't skinned the rest of our model. We've only skinned our eyeballs. Sadly, I'm so sorry. All right, and then the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to clean up some of these things. So, wow, I totally spelled this wrong. All right, so we're going to select both our IK handles. Control select IK01 and hit P to parent. Okay. Actually, no, we're not going to do that. We are going to parent both my IK handles to my head bone. Okay. So let's do that. Let's turn off my model layer. So with these guys selected, let's shift select the head bone and hit P to parent. So they're off with the head bone, which is great. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to, well, we already have our eye controls parented to the head here, so we don't need to move them anywhere. We do need to clean up their channels. So these guys are only ever going to be moving in translate. So I'm going to drag, left drag, rotate scale and visibility, right mouse press, lock and hide selected. And the same is going to happen for the eyes control. Just left mouse dragging, right mouse pressing, lock and hide selected, so I cannot accidentally select these. Next thing that we are going to do, let's just make sure. Let's select both of these and turn their visibility off. So their visibility is right here. I'm going to hit 0. All right, so that's the visibility of my IKs, which is great. Okay. All right. So now I am going to work on my jaw bones. I'm also going to delete this layer. Okay. And when I delete that layer, what's going to happen is my eyes are going to go back to the model layer. All right, so the last thing that we need is a jaw bone, or a jaw control. We actually have a jaw bone. Because we want our character's mouth to open and close. As you can see through the topology that he has those abilities, even though I have not imported his teeth yet. Which I should probably do. But let me show you how to create a jaw control. So once again, I'm just going to use a circle right now. We could use almost anything, really. We could use J for jaw. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a triangle. Triangle is going to be his control. So I'm going to go to Create CV Curve, Tool Options box, make sure it's one linear. And I'm just going to press X to create a triangle. And there it is. Seemed like I wasn't doing anything, but I am. All right, so we made the jaw control. We're going to call it CC underscore jaw 01. Save this. And actually, let's just save this scene as version 5, just in case we mess up. All right, so I'm going to press W for the move tool, press V, and snap my jaw control to my jaw bone. I'm going to freeze its transformations, which I'm going to have to do again because I just rotated it. All right, let's delete history, freeze transformations, and go into component mode and move it forward. And we're going to scale it. So I'm just going to scale this down. We're going to move it forward here, maybe down a bit. It's like he has a little goatee. Right. I'm also going to make it yellow. Okay, so it's now yellow in color. I am going to parent it to the head bone. All right, so then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a locator. I'm going to snap that locator to my jaw joint. I'm going to call the locator low quarry underscore jaw 01. I'm going to make it smaller, make it 0.4. I need to orient it to the bone, so I'm going to select the bone, the jaw bone. Let's make the character visible. Shift select the locator, constrain orient, make sure maintain offset is off. Then I'm going to delete the constraint. Then I'm going to select the locator first, this time, and then the bone, and constrain orient again. And so now, as you can see, the bone is driven by the locator. Now with the locator selected, I'm going to shift select the control and hit P to parent. So my control can now open and close my jaw. I mean, I can move it from side to side too, though I might want to make a custom control that limits that movement. All right, so now I'm going to select my translate, scale and visibility channels, and lock and hide selected. So that right there, let's just make my character visible and make sure that this is outside of the character, and it is. So that's how you finish up our head rig. I mean, we could take this a lot further. We could make controls for the eyebrows and the actual brows. We could do a ton of other things, but we're going to keep this fairly simple for right now. So next, we will be working on the arms.